Don't you dare be sour. Clap for Unlikely with Adrian Hernandez and feel the power.
Man, let's get to it. You know, it's a special episode when I do an intro because I'm a deviant and I just throw the interview up and I don't even talk before or after and I just throw it in your face. So let's do this properly. Welcome inside Unlikely. You have a million options for podcasts and entertainment, and you spent some time with us, so we greatly appreciate it. Adrian Hernandez here, of course. Before we get into our interview for today's episode 53, I believe, by the way, which is freaking incredible. She was known on WWE TV as Kayla Braxton, but Kayla Becker will be joining us. We got to talk to her for past a half hour, man. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you will too. We'll get to that here in a little bit, but first, there's a lot of things I want to get to because I haven't spoke with an actual show intro because, again, I'm a deviant, and I should probably do that more often. We're working on it. I promise you, we are working on it. I will get to it. But let's go from what's happened. It's not furthest. We'll go and we'll speak on some of the things that happened a few weeks ago, and we'll go from there to what's happening right now. So first and foremost, we had Stone Cold Steve Austin on the show. Would just like to say that again. We had Stone Cold Steve Austin on the show. Absolutely incredible. For a lot of you, this is the first time you've ever seen or heard my content, so welcome. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation, and I hope I did it justice, man. Stone Cold doesn't talk to a lot of people, especially from the wrestling landscape. Ever since he finished his podcast, he's very yo, I've talked about this a lot. I don't feel like talking about this a million times. I'm in my Stone Cold ranch, and let me be. So to be able to get a few minutes to speak to him on what he's doing, his new passions in life, get to talk a little bit of wrestling, get to mix it up, tried to talk as much wrestling as I could, respecting what I was there for and what the purpose of the interview was. Just extremely grateful, extremely humbled to be able to talk to him. And yeah, incredible. And if you haven't, go listen to it, episode 50. If you're on your podcast feed, go search it on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. And run them numbers up, man. Greatly appreciated. Run them numbers up because no coincidence. Speaking of running numbers up, August was the biggest month the YouTube channel has ever done, ever. And it's a little surreal. As we speak currently, we have over 45,000 subscribers, which means we are 5,000 subscribers away from 50,000. I need to be clear in explaining that at the beginning of the year, heading into 2024, I believe the channel had anywhere from 6 to 8,000. 6 to 8,000 was the range. Somewhere in between there is how many followers I had. There was a number I wanted to hit at the end of this year, which was 12,000. YouTube just sent me the number specifically for August. And in August, we had over 15,000 new subscribers. Last week alone, almost 1 million people watched or viewed the channel. And it's humbling, man. One thing I will say, though, when it comes to YouTube and when it comes to subscribers, it's kind of like Instagram or Twitter, any social media followers. You could have hundreds of thousands of those, but are they consuming the content? Just because someone subscribes doesn't automatically mean that they're watching your videos. Basically, it could be vanity. But it seems like people are enjoying and people are watching the stuff. And if you are, thank you. Please continue to do so. We will try to bring you the best that we can and talk to as many people as we can. But for right now, in this moment, as I told you some of those numbers, I just want to say thank you. Because, again, you have a million options to watch a million different things, let alone a wrestling specific type podcast. There's thousands. So for you to spend some time with me and what we're doing over here is greatly appreciated. And it's cool to see the hard work starting to pay off, but we just building this house, which means we gotta keep going brick by brick, and we will continue to do so. And seeing some of that hard work pay off, specifically with that phrase, it's cool because the intro for the show, the instrumental that plays, the theme that plays for Unlikely, is done by a man who goes by the name of Jordan Patrick. He is an artist. He is an artist of many, many talents, and he's also a producer of music. And he recently was a part of A$AP Rocky's latest single that just dropped, single off of his new album that's coming out here shortly. But the Ruby Rose record that A$AP Rocky did featuring J. Cole was super, super dope. And the coolest thing is that Jordan Patrick helped not only produce, but helped put that song together. So when you go on Apple Music or you go on Spotify, when you search the info for the record and they give you like everything, like everyone who wrote on the song, everyone who helped create the music that you listen to, it'll show you the bylines of all the names. And when you search and when you look through that record, you'll see Rakim, which is A$AP Rocky, Rakim, shame on me. You'll see Rakim, which is A$AP Rocky. You'll see Jordan Patrick, and then you'll see Jermaine. That would be J. Cole. So to see his name in between those two, it's freaking crazy, bro. I need y'all to understand, the first show I ever had in radio wasn't in radio. It was at my college radio station that was available online only, or if you had like an HD radio, and you'd get it like the signal half-assed and shit. But the show was called The Underground, a hip-hop show. Tried to focus on all the things that you wouldn't hear on the radio. Shout out to Dat Piff. Shout out to Two Dope Boys. Peter Rosenberg's Real Late. Very similar in that style, in that vein. And I would also try to get as many local artists in Tampa that I thought were dope, which is how the relationship with me and Jordan started. He's probably... He was like on the second or third episode, man. We're talking about 10 years ago. And to see us be in that little room with an aux cable playing out of my computer and Windows Media Player, because I ain't a DJ, still wanted a music show because I love music, and to see him and where he's going. And again, he's just getting started. He got bricks on his house too, but it's cool to see that hard work pay off. Which leads me to my last thing before we get into this interview. Would like to send a huge congratulations to Cameron Hawkins and Ariel Helwani and the entire team at Uncrowned. Ariel Helwani, they gave him the keys to the kingdom, and he has his own platform, his own website, his own media entity, I guess, will be the word that we'll use, after he left DraftKings in the MMA Hour. And he started Uncrowned, which is actually debuting as you're listening to this. It's out now. Some of the shows have gone live with coverage of the UFC Noche at the Sphere, Canelo Alvarez's fight here in Vegas. Mexican Independence Weekend is a big fight weekend here in Las Vegas, always, every year. So there's a lot of combat sports action happening, I should say, which is a perfect place for Ariel Helwani to unveil his baby, which is Uncrowned. And with all the announcements was the staff. And who's joining the staff? The best feature writer in wrestling, and that would go by the name of Cameron Hawkins. You can follow him on Twitter at Seahawk, CeeHawk. One of the best, and just a person who opened his arms and has been very helpful, very instrumental in getting eyeballs on my stuff, just because he's like, this is good work and this is quality, and I'm gonna be a helping hand whenever I can be. And that's the type of mentality a lot of people should have and don't. So we salute the ones that do. So Jordan, congratulations. Cameron, congratulations. You, congratulations. Just listening. We alive. We doing our thing. And I emphasize that alive part because rest in peace to Rich Homie Quan, James Earl Jones. A lot of lives have been lost past couple of weeks. It's really like shook me up and tried to appreciate life more. So I'm going to get off my soapbox. Just wanted to send congratulations to all those people. Want to thank all of you again. We trying to build this rocket ship one step at a time. We are building it and couldn't happen without you. So with all that being said, let's get into the interview, shall we? It's Kayla Braxton. You might know her as Kayla Braxton. Her real name, though, is Kayla Becker. She's an awesome person, and here she is. Hey, welcome back to Unlikely. After a couple episodes in person, we are in the new casa, the new studio. Obviously, we're going to make the background fancy, but we had to get back to work, and joining us is someone you might have known on WWE television as Kayla Braxton. She is named Kayla Becker. Kayla, thank you so much for joining us, and I want to get straight to it. First question.
All right, let's do it.
Who's more intimidating, Ron Pearlman or Roman Reigns?
Ron Pearlman. I mean, sorry, Roman, but like Ron, I wouldn't even attempt to try to get an interview with Ron Pearlman the way I would ambush Roman Reigns. It's that voice. It's that ominous, deep Pearlman voice that we all know.
No, it's like the face too. It's like chiseled. It's stolen from the gods. How was it working with him? And we'll go into the movie here shortly. But just right off the bat, like, how was it working with him?
It was so cool. It's funny because I hadn't met him at the time. Well, my first day filming, I was in makeup, and then he came and sat next to me to get his makeup, and I'm sitting there like freaking out. I'm like, this is Ron. I'm texting my best friend like, Ron Pearlman. I had Jake Lacey on one side of me, Ron Pearlman on the other, and Justin Long standing in the doorway. I'm like, what is happening in my life? But we got to talking. He's actually a big fan. He's really close with he's close with Trish Stratus and Mickie James and a lot of those girls. So like we had a lot to kind of talk about or relate to. But just watching him work and watching his process as like a newer actress was really, really cool. And I feel like I got to pick up a lot from him. And he was really willing to kind of, talk and get to know you. So yeah, that was I can't believe it. and since this is our first time like ever interacting, I want to be honest with you. And before we get into all the wrestling stuff, I just want to just say this. I'm anti-horror films. And I've like, all right, sorry, I gotta go. It's gotta go. Where's the end button? And this will be the shortest interview you've ever done.
She's like 30 seconds. I'm out of here. Kid's
Done,
a loser.
out.
It was Chucky. I saw Chucky after seeing Toy Story, and I was like, obviously, I'm on this side.
Okay. So if I send you a Chucky thing to put behind you, you won't put it up there?
Nope. Okay. I'm not Liv Morgan. I'm not going to be a part of the show. I'm not going to do any of that. One thing, I used to check people's Twitters and I used to go on their likes. I felt like it would tell a lot about a person, their interests in some of their things. And I don't have that anymore, but I still look through your Twitter. And one of the things I enjoyed is you got to binge Game of Thrones, not while the show was going on, but years later, similar to me. So first and foremost, I need your reaction to the show. Was it worth the hype? What did you think of the last season, all that?
I think because I didn't watch it while everybody else was watching it, I had more appreciation for the last season, which a lot of people hated. Because everyone was warning me, just don't even watch season 8. And I'm like, I don't quit. I'm not a quitter. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I think the first season, it was really confusing because you had to learn all the houses and all the names and how everyone was related. And then everyone was hooking up with their sibling. And it's just something I had to really figure out. But I got so invested to the characters and just never know if you hate them one episode, you don't know if you're supposed to hate them the next, and you just get so intertwined in their lives. I loved it. I was really sad when it was over, and I went right into House of Dragon, which I just finished season 2 the other night. I don't get the hype of that one. That one I could have done without.
I heard season 2 was a massive disappointment. Right.
House of Dragon. Yeah. I was like, why did I just waste my time? But hopefully season 3 will be great. But loved Game of Thrones.
I think I agree with you because, like I said, I watched it because of wrestling. There would be countless times where my baby mama would be like, "Why are you watching that fake shit?" And I'm like, "Excuse me, Dragon Lady? I'm sorry, that, the stuff." And so I finally watched it and I loved it, and I caught up as the last season was happening, and then I watched the last season
Oh,
time,
okay.
and I was confused because I'm like, Daenerys lost everyone that she loved, so she went crazy. The kid who can go into the future and like in the
Yeah.
past, like, yeah, we should probably make sure that he's in charge. And Jon Snow went off to do like whatever, and the homegirl became like an assassin. I was like, yo, all
Yeah.
of this stuff makes sense. The McDonald's coffee cup, that's like, I
I'm
get it.
so glad I finally got to see that. 'Cause I remember when it aired, everyone was talking about it. So I'm so glad. My boyfriend paused it right when it happened. I'm like, "There's the cup, there it is." And they did. The fact I was surprised they didn't take it out in the streaming one. So it's like they just kept it in there. I guess as maybe a little Easter egg.
No, honestly, I appreciate that, right? You think like
Me too.
they'd edit it after the first time that it aired. And it is what it
Mhm.
is. Listen, two people that like the final season of Game of Thrones,
There
flame
we
us in the
go.
comments. It is what it is. And the reason why I wanted to ask you that about, watching shows and getting caught up on life is obviously on the road in WWE, you are now traveling the world for real, more than
Mhm.
usual. And now with like this freedom and time to do things, how has that been?
It's been weird, like, because yeah, I did do it for so long. Like my muscle memory of just Wednesday night, be in bed early, wake up early, airport Thursday, Friday work, come back Saturday. For so many years in my life, that was just it. As soon as I was done with that, it took me a few weeks, and then I was sitting around I'm like, this feels wrong. Like I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Like I feel like I'm being lazy, and like I was like sitting like on a Wednesday watching TV at 2 p.m. I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this. My friends are like, Kayla, you've been traveling nonstop for the better part of a decade. Chill out and just enjoy some downtime. So
Go to the
I'm still
mall.
having a hard time. Go to the mall. I'm still having a hard time with it. A little bit like I'm such a busybody, so I'm constantly working on projects and setting meetings, and but this time it's for stuff that I'm personally passionate about and things that I've had to put on the back burner for the last decade. So that's what's been really fun and kind of doing it on my own time and like finally getting Kayla Becker's voice out there. So that's been cool. I do not miss the travel at all, but I miss the people. I've been getting major FOMO. I've had to mute some accounts because sometimes because I get so much FOMO and it makes me sad when I see like and then I unmute them, but like seeing all the pay-per-views going on, I'm like, damn it, I wish I was there. Just hang out with my friends. But that's just that's how life is. But yeah.
Yeah, and like there's obviously there's a lot of journeys, and it's cool that like in this era your journey can kind of be documented online. Like you were early on
Mhm.
YouTube. We talked about before we started the interview about your entertainment show in Orlando at
Mhm.
West News. Shout out because I used to live in Orlando. So I was like, oh, it's cool. But like
Yeah.
talk to me back then, because like I feel like now this is the first year I work at a radio station and they're finally like, hey, we should get cameras in the studio. I'm like, yeah, we should. We should have done that 5 years ago. I can't imagine 10 years ago or further than that, like having it be it's just strictly online. And like, how was that experience? Or was it freedom because they were kind of like, we'll just let her do her thing over here?
Yeah, well, it's funny because it was online and it was televised. So I had a segment that I would like do live in the studio, and then I would toss to the segment that I filmed for like online.
Got you.
Um, so if it was going to be a television segment, it was more heavier produced by the Wesh producers, and I had some other reporters or anchors with me on those. But for the most part, my Orlando My Way segment, I did have a lot of freedom. And when they hired me, it was like, okay, because I came from a school, again, 10 years ago, or gosh, 15 years ago when I started college. Technology and equipment and the programs were nothing like they are now. I always tell people, you're welcome to the current students because I paid for my tuition paid for what you get to do now because we use some beat up cameras from 20 years ago. But I learned how to shoot my own stuff and edit it and produce it and host it. So I had all the skills. So they kind of just let me do all of that at Wesh. So I would pick my stories, get it approved, write the article, go out, shoot it, one man band, come back, edit it, and put out what I wanted, which was so much fun. And that's the creative freedom I think I've missed out on in WWE. It's such a big machine. I didn't get to have that kind of control. So I'm finally getting that kind of control again in like newer projects. And it's been great. And it's very like, it just reminds me a lot of those Wesh days. With a little more expertise.
Right. And I wonder like how, because I might turn this into a therapy session for myself, because I feel like what I'm doing now at the radio station, like I'm so thankful that I do this because like creatively, like this is what I
Mhm.
love, and doing wrestling and all that stuff. Like I love this. And being at the radio station, although I've always wanted to be on the radio, what I'm doing now, I'm like, oh, snap, this is the first time in my life that like this is a job. And I was like, I never thought of it as a job. So for you creatively, like, how tough was it? And when did that really start to be like, oh man, I'm missing the spark? And I don't know, was it going through the motions or like, what was that process of what you were feeling?
In WWE?
Yeah.
It was a pretty quick, but I also went into WWE knowing, hey, it may be a couple years. I got to do my time. I'm going to have to be the ring announcer, do these coconut loops, help set up the ring, take it down, have these crazy long nights 3 days a week. I was completely willing and like ready to put in that work and maybe do things I didn't want to do because I felt like I would eventually prove myself and then get what I wanted in WWE. And that's where, like, when the bump came in, that was very much bringing me back to that creativity that I once had. Then when I left the bump on my own, I feel like I shot myself in the foot a little bit with that. Moved out to LA. It was just hard for me to do the bump. And then I felt that feeling again of losing my creativity, going through the motions, showing up on Fridays, maybe doing one interview and going home, which ultimately led to me realizing, hey, Kayla, it's probably time to, get on out of here and start creating it again. But yeah, I think I always kind of knew that's what the process would be. It was just a matter of how long I wanted that to go on for.
And before I start asking you these questions about like the art of what you did, I do want to ask you like the night at Madison Square Garden, like, did you know it would be MSG? And I was there. I flew in, I took my niece. It was her first show. It was cool. And my sister went too, and she wasn't that big of a wrestling fan. And I remember my sister went to me and like, oh, she's really loved. And I was like, yeah, she is. Cause I looked at her and I said, I need you to know that there's wrestlers that haven't got this type of response and love from them, as in the WWE and this audience. And we're in Madison Square Garden. So first and foremost, did you know it was going to be MSG?
No, because my decision to leave was pretty close to my last day. It was something I've been thinking about all year, but I didn't know when. And then there was just a day I was just like, it's another opportunity came to me. A few opportunities had come to me from outside the WWE, and I knew it was going to be difficult for me to do both. And I was like, I can't, where I am right now in the company, not really doing much anymore. I can't pass up opportunities to continue doing what I'm doing. Like I've got to like make this decision. And I spoke to the higher ups in the company, and they were so supportive. They're like, okay, like we think that's great. We support you. We'll help you transition, and the door's always open, whatever you need. So it was just like, it just felt really good and really right at that time. And then I was doing the math. I had no idea it was going to be, I wasn't even thinking it being Madison Square Garden. And I was talking to one of the bosses on the phone. He goes, all right, well, we're going to let you come on and just do 2 more shows. So Chicago and New York. I'm like, wait a minute. My next 2 shows are 2 of the biggest crowds that we historically, play with wrestling, Chicago and MSG. So again, it just added an extra layer of, you know what, I'm at peace with this. This is the right time. But I had no idea they were going to give me that kind of send off. I keep telling people it was my last day. I had a party planned. Peter Rosenberg helped me plan a go away party. All the talent were coming. I was already in the last set thinking about like taking tequila shots, and I was getting ready to leave. And they're like, Kayla, don't leave yet. I'm like, why? They're like, don't leave yet. Like, it's my last day. Like, I'm about to go party. They're like, and I'm thinking there's like a plan B, which is when the show runs short, they need us to run out and fill time with an interview.
Yeah.
I'm like, fine. And then like Triple H came up to me and like Nick Khan, and I was like, something's going on. And so I went to the Gorilla, and then Cody was out there. And that's when I started like realizing, oh, they're about to do something really sweet for me. And I was like in tears. And then hearing all of Madison Square Garden erupt with "Thank You, Kayla," which is something I hear my name like that, and I still get emotional thinking about it. Like I am very aware that most people don't get that kind of send off, especially people who decide to walk away on their own. And that will always be one of the pinnacles of my life. So it was so great.
So you, just to clarify, you had no idea that any of this was planned. You were just, this is going to be regular day at work, and I'm going to clock out early because I got a party to go to, and it's my last day.
To be honest, yeah, I was a little ticked off, if I'm being completely honest, because my last appearance on TV was some BS interview where I was chasing. Who was I chasing? Anyway, you could barely see me. I was being blown off. I was like, is that the last of Kayla Braxton on WWE TV after all this time? I was like, fine. And then, of course, that happened right after. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll get over it.
And also, this isn't a plan for you and Paul Heyman to return and like run the bloodline, right? Just to clarify.
If it were, I wouldn't tell you.
Fair
So,
enough. I also thank you for giving me the backstory because I want to let you know what happened on my end as a fan. So I left early because my niece is younger. So my sister's like, we need to take the train. Let's dip out. So as we
mhm.
walked out, you walked out with your crew at the same time. And my sister was like,
Oh.
say something to her. Say something. I'm like, no, I'm a media member of the WWE. She's gonna know who I am eventually. And then a fan ran up to you, and I was like, "Oh, that sucks," because she's gonna be stuck here for 30 minutes. But it's good to know that you was getting ready to turn up as you should. And that's a thing. Now, when it comes to your actual job, the one thing that I find fascinating is, for all intents and purposes, one of the main parts is you're supposed to make people look good and you have to like execute in these very tight windows. You're not Joe Rogan in a 4-hour podcast talking to these wrestlers.
Mhm.
It's like a minute or two, maybe. So like talk to me about that and like learning and trying to excel with that in terms of like making people look like stars.
Yeah, we all get humbled real fast when we come to WWE because a lot of us do come from other positions in other companies to where we are, you know, more of a star or seen at a higher level. When we come to WWE, it's like, no, you're not the star. Your job is to make them the star. So we all really have to humble ourselves because they always told us, no one cares where you came from. No one cares what you did before here. You're here now, and this is what you focus on. But I think it became really easy because I guess, the longer you work there, just the more appreciation you have for the wrestlers and watching what they do. And it's exciting. Like, oh my God, like I know like I'm told what I'm supposed to ask them, but like it still feels like so like I don't know how to really explain it. It's just really exciting. So it was fun for me to make sure they were the ones who were getting over, and of course when the Bloodline stuff and Paul Heyman that all got introduced, and they wanted me to have more of a personality interaction with them while still making sure I was pushing their storyline further, making them look like stars. Although they don't need my help to look like stars. It just made it more easy and it was a lot more fun. We all had to be very mindful to remember that it's not about us. And the more that you keep that in mind, I think fans notice that. And then you kind of become a star in their eyes as well. Then
Yeah,
you kind of stand out.
for sure. And I am curious as you're saying this and you're talking about the stars and stuff, like you left during an era of like the popularity is insane. Like
I know.
y'all pulled up to the Super Bowl here in Las Vegas and really honestly like the week of the game, like that was the story around town. Like The Rock's here. Roman, did you see
Yeah.
the slap?
Yeah.
And like this is the Super Bowl, the biggest event in this country, and the global aspect and the takeover with UFC and all this
Hmm.
stuff. Was there a part of you like, let me wait until like 3 shows aren't completely sold out or something like that?
I mean, no, I feel like that's been kind of happening. I've noticed that the popularity skyrocketing for a while now. And of course, it's only going to become more and more popular. So I didn't really that didn't really cross my mind. If anything, it made me think like, damn it, am I making the right decision? Am I piecing out at the time I shouldn't be piecing out? But no. I mean, gosh, it's been for years. You have those closet wrestling fans in my friend group who never told me they were wrestling fans until they found out I was working there. It's like, oh my God, are you friends with Roman Reigns? I'm like, have you talked to Rhea before? I'm like, yeah.
On
Yeah.
TV, yes, in 4K, in
Like,
4K.
we actually got lunch yesterday. So yeah, just seeing like all the people come out, even in my group, who have just been massive wrestling fans their entire lives, has been really fun too to notice. And then, yeah, I don't know, it kind of spreads like wildfire.
Honestly, if I was your friend, I don't feel like I'd tell you. But I think that's personal because like I used to be in hip hop radio and then like I'd come home and they'd be like, "Hey, did you hear the beef with Megan Thee Stallion?" And I was like, "I just talked about it for 3 hours. I don't
Oh
really want to talk
yeah.
about it in the home." So I'd be like, "I don't want to bother her. That's her job and that's her friends." And with the popularity, the one thing that happened too is Lee Fitting coming in from ESPN
Hmm.
and running College Game Day. Can you talk to me from like a production aspect and what you dealt with, like the change and how that was? Because obviously the fans were very receptive to it. But for you working there, like how was that change?
Well, I didn't work on him very long because I left pretty quickly into, them kind of coming in, and that wasn't for
Yeah.
any reason. But there was definite changes, and you notice them every week on TV, and it was just really cool stuff that, for years has just been really stiff and the same every single time because, you know, our former boss was just, he didn't like change at all. So it was really fun. It's even like the title shots and like different kind of like camera shots in the ring. Like you could tell that was very like ESPN. And I think Lee had a big hand in that. A lot of stuff was switching over. I think things are still kind of moving around the broadcast division and trying to figure out who to put where. So that was at times challenging, I think, for me and for a lot of people because you didn't know what your position would be, even if, after you'd been there for so long. So like, am I starting over? But that's just change. That's just how things go in any company. So I think he has a lot of knowledge and experience, and I think it's going to be really good for WWE to kind of take on this more modern image, and especially I know they've been wanting to get into like Hollywood. And I think that for that reason, I'll be more receptive from people even out here because it's like, oh, this is something that we can understand, and that looks like it's not from 1964. So, I think it's been great.
And with the 8 years, there's a lot of things that you guys have been through: the pandemic, these new changes and stuff. And even recently, I know you've talked about like you didn't know when some of these Rock returns or some of these returns. It's not like you guys knew, and you just come in and you're like, "What the hell? The Rock's there." Is there a show that sticks out to you? I'm assuming it's probably a WrestleMania that's like was the most hectic for you as a broadcaster.
Maybe for me, would be the first WrestleMania back after the pandemic in Tampa. That was the first time I'd ever hosted a kickoff show because Renee Paquette had just left. And Michael Cole said, all right, Kayla, you are now basically doing every job that Renee and Charlie had because we didn't have a lot of people anymore. So I go from just being like this little like quiet back to interviewer that goes unnoticed. That's, oh, damn, I'm now going to be the top female broadcaster at WWE. And then literally my first pay-per-view was Tampa after the pandemic. And it was terrifying because I don't know if you remember, it was storming. We had rain delays. So beyond a 2-hour kickoff show for my first kickoff show, we had to stall. So it ended up being like a 4-hour kickoff show. And we were just like going off the cuff. It was terrifying, but it was 2 days of that. But when we came out on the other side, I was like flying high, like the adrenaline, the excitement, and just being so proud of myself for being able to handle something like that because I was terrified going into it. And then after that, I was like, you know what? I do belong here. I'm good at my job. And it just kind of propelled me even further in the company. So, but oh my gosh, I was so scared. I probably needed more bathroom breaks than I took because I had so many nerves.
Listen, the thunderstorm delay was like, I think it was like the first ever in WrestleMania history.
Oh my God. Of course. The first one we're back. Of course that would happen.
Like, yo, did we get ponchos? Please tell me we got ponchos. And I don't think people realize like you have an earpiece and can you just like on average, how many people are in your ear?
We have a few people in our ear and there's a lot of times, sometimes you don't hear what they say and you can't really ask them to repeat it. So then we're like side-eyeing each other and like trying to see if anyone else caught it. Because they'll say it once, and if you didn't catch it, you're just kind of guessing what the hell they want. Like they could be like toss backstage to Sarah Schreiber, like what? Nicolas Cage, like you don't know what they're saying.
Did you really say that?
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, no, I give you guys a ton of credit being in some of the press conferences afterwards and like them just yelling at Byron like to do something. He's like, what do you mean? Oh, I'm live on TV.
So well, though.
He's like,
he handled it so well.
Oh, no, it's crazy. One question I want to ask you, because like social media and handling it in all aspects of life is like super important. And, the internet wrestling community, how do I put this kindly? It's a special place.
It's a special place.
How quickly, typically, do you go on social media during a show? Like you're on SmackDown, do you check it right after your segment, after the show? Like, how does that work?
It varies. A lot of times I have to stay away from it because I don't need something to shake me up before the show is over because, of course, a lot of special fans want to make sure they poke at you, and they do it to all of us. There was a time I would even delete Twitter during the show. Like I deleted it from my phone, so I wasn't even tempted to go onto it and check anything. Because it is easy to want to go and see what people said about the segment you just did. And toward the end of my time, I just stopped really caring. I think I remember one of my last segments. We had just gotten back from France. All of us were sleep deprived. It was me, Carmelo, and LA Knight. And I don't know what, the internet went crazy about it, said I ruined the entire segment because I wasn't reacting to LA. But my brain was just dead. We had been from Saudi to France or whatever. But I made the mistake of going on to Twitter, not even to look for anything, just my name popped up. And the fans were just terrible. And even now that I've left, people are still saying like, oh, she probably left because she messed up the LA segment. And they knew then that she should, just like mean stuff that doesn't matter. But over time, you just learn more to tune it out and realize that people are saying these things could not hold a microphone for a single day, or do anything close to what all of us do. And they're still watching us. So, but I think the rule of thumb and the advice I would give to anybody coming up after me was delete the app off your phone during the show and check it after. Check it after when you have a nice glass of wine in front of you. And your
day
favorite
after
show
SmackDown on
then
Saturday, when you get home, you're by the pool.
Yeah, then do that.
And I remember that was also like Mello called himself Mello, but he meant to say LA Night. And like, it was just, listen,
Yeah,
you
we
guys
were
are
all
on TV so
exhausted.
much. Like it happens. It's happened 5
We've been
times
on,
to me
like,
during this interview. One thing I do want to ask you too is, so now you left WWE, and I know in the past you've talked about how you kind of came into this not really a fan and having to learn. I'm assuming two things: doing live TV and wrestling is like, oh, I can do anything now when it comes to entertainment because of the crazy variety. And then two, I did this without being like a fan for life. So like, how is your attitude in approaching these new things that you're about to, do?
And you said it. That's the thing with wrestling. Like, people don't understand the skills that we all gain unintentionally just because it's the environment and like the go, the red light. Like, the idea that what we do on Mondays and Fridays and Tuesdays, right? Is that NXT? Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It was Wednesday when I was NXT. But that it's live. That is crazy. Like, that is crazy. This isn't like the movie that I did. That's all cut and edited and many different takes and shots. And that's most TV shows. We are live, and it's not live dialogue just. It's live acting. It's live combat, sports in the ring and flipping and turning and gymnastics. Like, and what blows my mind, like, screw what I do. When one of our wrestlers goes out and does like some 20, 30-minute crazy, grueling match and then takes a mic and cuts a perfect promo, how in the hell, without stuttering once, people out here in Hollywood don't even know like the talent that if our wrestlers walked over here into Hollywood, they'd put Hollywood people out of business because like no one can do that. So as an announcer, I feel like I gained a lot of skills, and it's been noticed even in the meetings I've been in LA where people have wanted me to host shows. They're like, we know we could just throw stuff at you and you can just go do it, and we can do it in half the time. Like, that's a great thing to be told because it's very accurate. And I thank WWE for giving me those skills.
And when it comes to acting, was there acting like classes, or like, how's this journey been?
I've taken acting classes. I never really thought I wanted to act. When I was a really little girl, I was pursuing that a little bit, but my life took a big turn. But I never really thought I wanted to be acting. Acting just kind of like fell in my lap a little bit out here. My agents really wanted me to pursue it. And I was like, okay, well, let's try it. And then after doing this movie, I kind of got the itch for it. So I'm still auditioning, and I really want to be in your favorite genre of horror. So we'll see if I can, get some slasher films under my belt.
Because of this time, I will watch. I promise. I'll watch during the day with every blind in the house on. I promise you.
You'll watch?
Yes, I promise. I pinky promise.
There you go. You pinky promise.
And at the beginning, I asked about Ron Pearlman because the movie Stranglehold is coming out soon. Ron Pearlman, Justin Long, Ashley Benson, you, and others as well. How, like, that's a hell of a debut and a hell of a cast to be a part of.
Holy shit. Like, I was auditioning for movies before this that were like low budget, indie. Like, I just wanted to get my foot in the door, and I hadn't booked anything. And then this movie came up, and I was like, wait, this is going to be my, and I'm not just a background character. Like, I'm a character with a name, and I have scenes and I have lines. And I always said growing up, I've mentioned this a few times, Justin Long, I love Ron Pearlman, but Justin Long was the person in that movie that I most wanted to meet. Since I was a little girl, I've been a massive fan of his. I've seen almost everything he's ever done. A lot of his horror stuff for the last decade has been some of my horror comedies, like from Drag Me to Hell. He did Barbarian, which kind of has a similar feel. Of course, he's Jeepers Creeper. All of these movies. I always said one day if I ever get into acting, I hope to have a movie with Justin Long. And the fact that was my very first movie is mind blowing to me, like mind blowing. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to brag, but it makes me pretty cool.
Hey, you should. I'll say the names again. Like, that's super impressive. And I want to ask you whether it's acting or broadcasting. For me, I've always had like this thing of like I've wanted to interview LeBron James and Kendrick Lamar, like these people that I view as like icons. But then it hit me like, yeah, but what am I actually going to say other than like, hey, Kendrick, you're the greatest rapper ever, man. Thank you for your work. So getting to be in these situations and getting to talk to these icons, to you, is it like is there a nervousness? Is there a don't tell me?
So awkward. I'm so awkward. It's amazing that I'm a broadcaster, because when it comes to people I really care about, I am like a middle schooler going up to talk to her crush and then like runs away, like giddy, like even with Justin Long. Like, he doesn't know if he hears any of this stuff, he's gonna be like, this girl's crazy. Because I went up to him I want to introduce myself to him like the first day of shooting, and I was like, I don't know why I did it like this, but I was like, Justin Long, is it Justin Long? Like, acting like I didn't know he was. Like, why did I do that? But what I wanted to say was, Justin, I'm such a big fan of yours. Like, you are, like, you've inspired me. So like, that's what I wanted to say. But instead, I acted like I didn't know who he was. So
it's like, who the
even when I met The Rock for the first time, I know. Even when I met The Rock for the first time, I was so nervous. It was at when we moved to Fox. So we did that when we were out here in LA for like the season premiere. And I hadn't met The Rock before. He was backstage, like just talking to everybody, being nice. I'm like, Kayla, this is your moment. This is your moment. You have to go talk to The Rock. And then he starts walking to like his trailer. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to bother him, but I have. So I like ran up to him. I was like, excuse me, Mr. The Rock. Mr. The Rock is the name that he got from me. So I'm so not cool when I talk to people that I'm really excited about.
So that happens. It makes me feel better because I'm just as awkward. So it's okay.
It's all of us.
It's okay. You once got slimed on WWE TV. I don't know if you remember. I hope you
worse
do.
than him is.
Can you?
My hair remembers.
So yeah, like the washing off process. Like how many showers? 3, 4?
And it happens because that was when we were doing tapings in Orlando at the Performance Center, because it was during the pandemic. And so what people may not know is we would do all the matches at the beginning of the day, but we'd save all the pre-tapes and backstage stuff to the end of taping, which could be midnight, 1, 2, 3 a.m. So my thing was like at 2 a.m. So I had to get slimed at 2 a.m. And then I had to go, I was the last shot. Braun was unscathed. It was all on me. And then I have extensions, okay? And I'm ethnic. I have black girl hair. So that is another freaking layer. So I had to go up to like the locker room, and I was like in there another hour just trying to get all this green gunk out of my hair. And then it was in there for like a week. Like I just kept finding green stuff. So I'll never get over that one. But I guess it's cool to say I was slimed.
And it was in Orlando, where Universal Studios used to be the home of Nickelodeon. So like it probably was actual slime.
I guess it all. No, I saw them making it. I remember there was like a mixture of like oatmeal and some other stuff. I think it was green oatmeal I was picking out of my hair for a while. I don't know.
You were like, can we change the idea? Can we hit somebody else?
I know, like maybe water. What if we just do water?
My last question before, or actually 2 more questions, because I want you to let people know like what's next and what people can expect. But before I had this planned last night. I'm like, I'm gonna end with this and be confident, and I'm very much into speaking it into existence, which is advice working at WWE, because I feel like one day I'm gonna work there. But then I also just got the news that the performance center's moving to Las Vegas, so I feel like the universe is working for me. But what's the advice?
They're coming your direction. I think just keep doing what you're doing. You know, I was looking at your page and seeing the people you've talked to and interviewed, and you're obviously respected by a lot of people who matter in this industry. And I think you clearly have gone about things the correct way, because there's clearly a wrong way. And I'm sure you've seen people who show up to shows who are wanting to interview superstars but do it the wrong way. So I say just keep doing what you're doing. I think you're on the right path, and just keep working on those relationships with people that you already know. And when you see a position that pops up that they're looking for and you think that you're a good fit for, don't just apply for any position to get into the door, because that's not something that really works. But if something that is like tailored to you, that you are passionate about and you think you could kill it at, reach out to somebody that you feel like you can ask to pass on a good word about you. But I think you're on the right path. And like you said, they're moving your direction. So they're stalking you. You know, crazy ex-girlfriend is coming out west. So
we're speaking it into existence, and we'll leave off
there
with
you
this.
go.
What can we expect from Kayla Becker here in the future?
Yeah, well, besides obviously the movie release date TBD, I am working on some really cool projects. I'm doing a lot of I'm writing a show with some comedians, and I think it could be something that's really fun to watch. And then also look out for some new shows. I'm a host first and foremost, so there's some new fun shows that I will be hosting. So, and who knows, maybe another movie is going to come down the line. When I can say more, I will say more. I hate to be all vague, but you will see me on your televisions, and then hopefully some of my work from behind the screen will be out there for you as well. So we got some fun stuff coming.
Listen, Kayla's cooking, ladies and gentlemen. So follow her on social media. The announcements are coming. I know you've done a lot of media with wrestling media here recently since you've left WWE. So I just want to thank you for the time that you spent with us, and best of luck. And can't wait to have you on the show again.
Yes, and I'm going to send that. Send me your address. I can send you that Chucky poster.
Stop it, please. That little freaking creep. Anyway, Kayla, thank you.